Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody gathered here today. I'm about to be joined by four esteemed creators who have forgotten more JRPG, RPG, and gaming knowledge than I have ever accrued in my entire life. Their record, unassailable. Their gameplay, nearly perfect. Their YouTube videos, endlessly entertaining. They will be genuinely speaking, this is like the all-star cast of Suikoden guests that I could ever ask for, and they're going to be carrying a lot of the content here today. Please give a warm welcome to our four guests. Today, I am joined by David Inc., Johnny Awesome, Taylor, which is also the Gaming Shelf, and Titanium Legman. Gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Phenomenal.
Doing well.
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure, and huge thanks to Konami for allowing us to have this today. I've got about 5 questions to ask you guys, and take as much time as you need. We have an hour, but if we go a little bit over, that's okay, unless you have some place to be. But we are going to start with something kind of basic, just so we can get a chance to know each other and to introduce you to the audience. The first question, which we have here beneath me on the panel, that we have so kindly been given from one of our great circus performers. How have Japanese games or JRPGs influenced you as a content creator? And do you incorporate any of that into your own channel? And I'm going to start with the Titanium Legman down there at the bottom. Can you please tell me that?
I can. My channel wouldn't exist without JRPGs, Japanese games in general. The things that I've played range from action games to JRPGs to strategy games, which is my primary draw nowadays. I started, before I even had the channel, by streaming Suikoden 1 back in college for one viewer. So shout out to my boy Nick from high school who came to watch that because he knew the game. And then now here we are today, bringing it back full circle. So all my best content is tactic-style JRPGs, but I still go back and I play all the classics, especially the remaster now that it's out for 1 and 2. So I don't know that I would have a channel without Japanese games and JRPGs, so it's an honor to have that privilege.
No, absolutely. And I think that it's funny, a lot of our... Maybe if you stream, or I started with Suikoden 1 as well, so no stranger to that, but it's really, really warming to hear that this game had as big of an impact on you as it did to a lot of other, I'm not going to say people of our age, because it's a timeless classic, but, I'm glad that the classics are still being played, and I appreciate you for sharing that as well. And Taylor, could you tell me a little bit about the same thing, how Japanese games and JRPGs influenced you as a content creator?
Yeah, I mean, just growing up, JRPGs are always my favorite games, and kind of in the same period, like after college, I was playing on the PSP. I was going through the PS1 Classics catalog, and I played Suikoden 1 for the first time, and it kind of like made me fall in love with JRPGs all over again. And then I started my channel shortly after that, and now that's pretty much all I cover on the channel is JRPGs, everything from like AAA, indie, everything in between. So yeah, been a huge influence on the channel.
Okay, so I've hired the right guys for the job, it seems. And Johnny Awesome, can you please tell me a little bit about yourself and how these have impacted your channel as well?
Sure thing. So just to be blunt, I hated JRPGs as a little boy. They were too hard. Didn't know where to go. Couldn't read even. But when I started my YouTube channel, there wasn't a lot of RPG content at the time. Things change, of course, as we have everyone here. And yeah, my best performing videos were always JRPG stuff. So as time goes on, and then I started to really sit down and be like, wow, these JRPGs, amazing stories, interesting gameplay and settings, unlike anything else. And it just kind of won me over time is what happened there.
Everything you guys are saying, I know it's not just me that I'm just nodding my head and smiling ear to ear about it, but I know that there's a lot of people in the chat and then also the viewers who are like, that's me. That's exactly the same. Like, that's how I started. And David, last but certainly not least, can you please share with us how JRPGs or Japanese games have impacted you as a content creator?
Sure. How's everybody doing today? I'm glad to be here. And I've just got to say that I've always been a huge fan of JRPGs ever since I was a little kid. They didn't come later on in life like some people here. Like I was 5 years old playing JRPGs, not really even being able to read them, playing them on the NES, playing through some of those great classics and everything. And I've always loved them. I was never one to really get into some of the fighting games or the shooters or anything else like that. It was always JRPGs all the time with me. I followed them exclusively, and I've always loved them. And my entire channel just revolves around my love for JRPGs, upcoming JRPGs, ranking JRPGs, top tens for JRPGs, reviewing them from retro to modern to everything in between. I just love them, and I cannot get enough of them.
This is great to hear, and I have good news for our viewers or anybody checking this out later on YouTube. Good news, everyone. These guys have been doing it not just for a week or two. Some of these channels go back almost 10, 12, 14 years, and there is a backlog of fascinating, very well-made content. I had the luxury of the past 48 hours of just having each of your guys' channel on in the background as I was making assets. And I will personally vouch that you guys absolutely represent the genre well. And it is truly a pleasure and very humbling to have you on this channel today. So thank you very much for being here. I genuinely appreciate it. Okay, so I don't even need to say much more. These guys have gotten me beat, even though I too love this genre. But we're going to go on to question number 2, which is going to be more Suikoden focused. So, of course, we could spend hours talking about all of our favorite JRPGs and top 10s, and like David had said. But today we're focusing on Konami's masterpieces, Ginso Suikoden 1 and 2, and specifically the HD remasters. And through that, I have another question here that Joey, or Jowie, depending on how you first saw his name, he's asking, Rio, what are your fondest memories of Ginso Suikoden? And these don't have to be through 1 and 2, although this is what we're highlighting today. But I will start with Johnny Awesome. Can you tell me, what are your fondest memories of Ginso Suikoden?
Well, I am actually a very recent Suikoden fan, but once I played the first one, I had to play the second one. And what really just got me hooked on the game was a certain character's backstory, which, I don't know if we want to do spoilers.
You can name the character. That's okay.
All right. When we learned Ted's backstory in a very unique way, it was,
Sure.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, what am I playing? This is like unlike, anything on the system at the time, right? I'm just like, well, it just made me fall in love with the series from that point onward. And I had quite the marathon last year, checking out both games for PlayStation.
That's incredible. So you have been playing JRPGs for a long time, but just recently, Suikoden's been kind of like a surprise hit for you.
Yeah, because I was just like, well, I've played almost every PlayStation 1. Might as well give this one a shot. And I'm like, oh, this blows the majority out of the water. How is that? Why'd it take me so long,
Well, let this be a lesson to everybody else who's thinking about picking it up. It doesn't have to be your favorite game from 25, 30 years ago, like some of us.
Yeah.
It could be get it now and experience how great this game genuinely is. Taylor, can you tell us about your favorite or fondest memories of Ginso Suikoden?
Yeah. So like growing up, I played a lot of JRPGs, but then for a good chunk of time, I was like a kind of a filthy casual, just playing Madden and World of Warcraft. And then Blizzard banned my account. So I'm like, well, I got to play something else. And so I'm like, let me go back and play those old JRPGs that I missed, like back in the day. And Suikoden was always one that I wanted to play. And so kind of like I mentioned earlier, I booted up my PSP and I played it on that thing. And just like it just kind of blew me away because like we all know the classic. So to have a game that has 108 characters and your party can be 6 party members, which I had never played a game like that. Mm-hmm. And I was just like obsessed with building up the castle and just trying to recruit every single character I could. And yeah, just going through that, playing that for the first time and really like having that be the game that kind of made me fall in love with JRPGs all over again. So yeah, I have a lot to owe to Suikoden.
Well said. And I've played through these games a lot, like maybe some of you have played through multiple times, but just hearing about everyone's origin stories so far, I just beat it, but I want to replay it again. Like it's that timeless classic where the first time you did play it, it locks in and it really does make an impact. And Titanium, can you tell me a little bit more about your experience your
Absolutely.
fondest memories of Suikoden?
I have a couple, and it'll be very easy to let you know about because it stands out very stark in my mind. The first time I ever played the game was actually with my dad, my old man, way back 25 odd years ago now, which is insane because he was playing it. And I would watch him play. And the thing I remember the most was exploring Necklord's castle with him in the first game and getting horribly stuck, not being able to figure out the picture puzzles, not realizing that there was an NPC that we could go to that would talk about the hints to figure it out. So the OST is ingrained in my mind of us just running around for what felt like hours, and probably was because we were not the smartest back in the day. Trying to figure out how to get through the damn puzzle to be able to go and fight the boss. And that is just a core gaming memory for me. So shout out to my dad for that, for giving me one of my favorite games. Years later, I then went back and played it properly for myself, like I mentioned in college, and had that exact experience you were talking about where I beat it and it was like, time to go again and mainline a different cast of characters as soon as I recruit them. And that was over winter vacation one year. And I think I probably did that 3 times in a row. And it was just a wonderful experience. And then finally, just now recently being able to stream the game for my community and show it off to so many people who've never heard of it, never seen it, never experienced it. And seeing all these people being like, how many characters can you recruit? You get a castle? This OST is awesome. Oh, it's so good to see a world map again. Oh, the sprites look great. There's unite attacks. It's just an absolute blast from beginning to end. So, it runs the spectrum of good memories, and I'm happy for that.
I think that's very well said. I wish I had the same experience. My dad just made me farm levels for him in JRPGs when he was tired of being weak. But to your point, I think
I may have done that too.
When we will usher that into a new generation as well. I think one of the things you said that I do want to touch upon is when you said that you were able to share it with your community and there was some sense of like awe or surprise, like, oh my gosh, there's these elements that we haven't seen in some games in a long time. And that's one of the things that I hope that this stream and what you guys have encapsulated very well is that even though this game is 30 years old, it holds up tremendously well. It is a very good remaster and it is a well-deserved RPG to be played. And once again, I call upon David to close this chapter in the book. You're our designated hitter in the 4th slot. We leave it all to you. What are your fondest memories of Genso Suikoden?
I'm going to age myself right now because some of y'all just aged yourselves. I'm going to age myself. I first played Suikoden when I was in college. I picked it up for $5 at Electronics Boutique in a little discount bin right there. And I adored it. I absolutely loved it. My parents never played video games, so I don't have any kind of parental stories or anything else like that. But I remember playing it, picking it up, and loving it, and then being like, you know what? There's a sequel out there. Let me cut up the phone book and call up every single GameStop in town and then drive 60 miles to South Georgia to find the one GameStop that actually had Suikoden 2 for $80, by the way. It was unbelievably expensive back then because it was so rare, but I had to get my hands on it. I absolutely adored Suikoden. I love how it set itself apart from the rest of the JRPGs at the time with its Eastern themes, with not just being a turn-based RPG. It had war battles. It had strategy battles. It even had real-time battles. It had duels. It had party members actually being able to die permanently. It had permadeath. It had choices that actually mattered. You have all these characters that you can recruit, and they're not just like same old carbon copies of one another. They're all distinctly different. Every single one of them is different. There's not a whole lot of overlap. Even the personalities are different. The way they fight in battle is different. What they do in town is different. The unite attacks, some of them open up shops. Some of them fight with you. Everybody is different. The whole world is different. And each game has a whole different setting too. Nowadays, people talk about one particular very long-running game series that, each one builds off of another. But Suikoden was the one to do that first because every single game took place in its own nation, its own territory. And some characters that you knew from the first game would walk on over and you would find them in the second game because they would kind of migrate into that nation. And then you got to visit the grasslands in the 3rd game, the island nations in the 4th game, the Queendom of Felena in the 5th game. Everything was just so different. It was so different and so unique from all the other RPGs that were around at the time, like you couldn't help but focus on it and look at it and just really admire it for what it was doing, because it wasn't following the rest of the pack. It really set its own standard, and that's why I love Suikoden.
Like I said, leave it to the cleanup hitter. That was masterfully said. And I think there was two things I would like to point out to our younger audience. Electronics Boutique and GameStop, believe it or not, used to be called video game stores that we had to go and physically buy games from. And another two things really quick is that you mentioned that Suikoden 2 at the time was $80. And this was not a brand new game at the time. It was normal, like 50 or 60. The problem was with Suikoden 2 was a very limited release. Unless you pre-ordered it or you had access to it.
12 different stores to find this on the... And then I took a weekend and I drove down to some town I've never even heard of.
It's a quest. Goodness.
This is what also makes the remaster for a lot of us kind of something we've been waiting for nearly 20 years to have. They did re-release it briefly on the PS3, and there was a Japanese PSP version of 1 and 2, but to have this game accessible and lovingly remastered finally for a reasonable price, because Suikoden 2 and the copy that I still have was worth north of $250, $300 still in the case. But I think what David said yeah, for you collectors out there, good luck. But one of the things you said, and I'm thankful for it because it leads me right into my next question. Thank you, you're a pro, is about the characters. There are 108 characters, or in this game, they're called the Stars of Destiny. And what makes that unique is exactly what David said. Some work as an armorer or a chef, or they're a strategist or a battler or whatever, fishermen, boats, everything. So I wanted to ask you guys about your favorite characters. Now, I did ask a little earlier so I could prepare this, but we did have our trusty detective Richmond, who's been investigating all of these different amazing YouTubers about their favorite characters. And we're going to start, as I think Richmond would, with Johnny Awesome. And he's going to ask you, who are your 3 favorite characters that you could choose from in Gensou Suikoden?
I might have messed up. But
if you messed up, that's fine.
These are my favorite characters.
Okay.
Maybe they're not all the Stars of Destiny, but you know.
Okay, that does... Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we'll just get it out of the way. So, super basic answer, Joey or Jowie. Which one do you guys do? Tomato,
it's Jowie or Joey.
Okay. Duh.
Yeah,
I mean, he's Suikoden 2 in a nutshell. Can't really go into details why. But if you know, you know. Keep an eye on him. He's going places.
Well, he is one of the bearers of half of a true rune, which is the magic kind of system in this game. And he plays a pivotal role in Gensou Suikoden 2 as the childhood friend of the main character, Ryo, or so. So Joey is one of your favorites. Yes. Can't disagree with that. And next would be?
Kasumi. She's a cute girl, pretty helpful in battle. Can't always pick the main characters. Just keeping it real.
Yeah.
Not a super complicated answer. And she's in both games.
She is. She is a returning Star of Destiny in Suikoden 2 as well. And honestly, from the village of Rokaku, Kasumi is... they give her a little bit more depth than some of the other characters, which is nice. And she does play into some major points in the story. I'm getting a lot of agreements in chat on your first two choices. How about number 3?
And 3, sort of a similar situation with Kasumi, but this character has a lot more story involvement in both games, but it's Flick. I was seriously impressed by his arc in the first game, and of course in the second game, but mainly in the first game, it's like, hey, I know you're collecting an entourage, buddy, but we got beef. I don't trust you. And I was like, well, that is not the standard. And then to see his character evolve and just change throughout both games, it was just, I mean, there's just nothing else like it for the era. Heck, there's not a lot like that now. So Flick, also, yeah, it's pretty good in battle. So at least he was for me.
Absolutely. I mean, these are 3 absolutely incredible choices. I cannot disagree at all with any. I mean, you can't really disagree. It's all subjective anyway. But it's good that Flick Joey and Kasumi get some representation here. This time we are going to go back to David so that we can. I can't always make you go fourth. I'm sorry. So we're gonna go in a kind of a counterclockwise version here. So David, who are some of your 3 favorite characters from Suikoden?
Okay, first of all, I had to pick Luke because everybody hates him because he's kind of like a jerk. But, he's powerful and he knows that he is powerful. And he's in the first 3 games.
Yes, he is.
I don't want to spoil anything, but I just want to let you know that he is super powerful. There's a reason why he's super powerful. And he casts wind magic with the best of them because of something spoilerific in the 3rd game. And also, not only does he fight with you, which is great, but he's really useful in the castle too, because he's the keeper of the Tablet of the Stars, which shows all the other different stars of destiny there. He's one of the first characters that join you in the first and second games as a really good magic user. From the back row, it's insane magic growth, and he fights with you on your side in the first 2 games, but then not so much in the 3rd game. He has some great character development here. I love his story. I love how he kind of fights against his own brother in the 2nd game, but then his brother joins up with your cause in the 3rd game. It's really, really cool. He is a great arc. He is one of the best characters out there. And he's one of the very, very, very few characters that show up in actually 3 different games, besides some like the mascot characters out there, like Vicky or Jean.
And then Futch. Let's give some love to Futch, who got in all 3 as well, barely.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. Definitely.
The elephant dragon.
Yeah.
Yes.
So of course, the bearer of the true wind rune, as we know from the very first moment you meet him, he calls upon its powers. But to what extent does he master them? You'll have to play through all 3 to find out. How about your second character?
Nanami! I just love her. She's so cute. She's just super cute. She's Ryu's little kid sister. She loves him to death. She stays with him by his side. And unlike another certain character in the first game, she's actually useful in battle. She's great with the double beat rune.
The Grimmio slander! Oh.
I will slander him all I want to.
Oh my God! But
she's great. She's great with the spark rune too, because she's so fast. Everybody can follow her lead and everything. You can again, not to spoil anything because I really don't want to, but it's so hard not to tell you. She loves him so selflessly that she would do anything for Ryu. And it's just so touching to see that towards the end of the game. You can't help but love her. And she's just funny. I really like her.
Now I totally agree. I think she's, in a lot of ways, she reminds me a lot of the Miyazaki kind of strong women characters from the Ghibli films. And I've always really quite liked Nanami. And I think she is a perfect counterpart to our title character in Suikoden 2. Now, you did make my job a little harder because you went off the board with your 3rd favorite character, so I had to go search the internet for this portrait. Can you tell me a little bit about your 3rd favorite character?
Chat is going to hate me. Anybody who has played Suikoden 5 is not going to agree with me, but I don't care because I like her. It's Cyleads from Suikoden 5. Number 1, her hair reminds me of Dr. Blight from Captain Planet, and who doesn't like that?
Yeah.
So number 2,
Wow.
aging myself, yeah. So number 2, she's the Queen's sister. She's the hero's aunt. She accompanies him the entire journey. She's useful in battle, not only with her attacking, but also with her magic. She knows a lot of the politics, being older than the hero and also being the Queen's sister. She's really kind of knows all the key players, knows everything that's going on, knows what's going on with the kingdom, knows about the Godwin family and how they're trying to control the kingdom and overthrow it and all that kind of stuff. She catches on to all of their plots. She knows what's up, and she calls them out on it time and time and time again. But then again, not to spoil anything, because I'm trying my hardest, but I don't want to spoil anything, but again, the bonds of family, she knows what she has to do, and she does what she has to do in order to save her sister and save the hero. I'm trying to say this in the most unspoilery way humanly possible. She does something unthinkable that nobody else would do, that she has to do in order to get stuff done. We'll just put it that way.
Okay, so as you can see, David does tend to favor the characters that have a lot of plot, that factor into the story, and have very, very, very strong personalities. That would be that's great. And that's what makes Suikoden so, I mean, like, just in the first 6 characters, there is such a wild difference of personality and attributes that make them so special and unique that I just want to play through the whole series again. But I digress. I'm going over to the Titanium Leg Man to tell me about his first favorite character in the Genso Suikoden series.
All right. Very excited to have my one rep from Suikoden 2, but it has to be Aulon. I've never been sure on the pronunciation. I apologize for that. But always such a fun character to have. Not a main character, but also a character that has an incredibly fun, small but still impactful recruitment quest. And I mean, who can't love having like a statuesque bodyguard who can just light her fists on fire and go pummel whatever enemy you're looking at, right? Like,
yes.
She's a fun character. She's badass. She's strong. And again, like we've kind of talked about here and there, for the time period, not always the most common thing. So that was always interesting about her as well. And then, you know, like, it's always good to have a physical fighter. It's always good to have someone that you can rely on to do that. We see that through all the different games. Someone who has a strong rune that can do high physical combat damage reliably, no matter where you have them placed. And yeah, just kind of a badass, which is always a good thing to have on your team. So simple, to the point, but a very fun character with a great design too. So you got to appreciate that.
Kind of hard to recruit, so make sure that you make sure you don't miss her, because she is very powerful, but can be a bit tricky. Next, you're right. You did kind of pivot into Suikoden 1, which, other than Kasumi and Flick, and Luke, I suppose, but this is going to be a pretty unique choice. Can you tell me who that is?
Yes. So, contrary to certain opinions in the group right now, I have to talk about Gremio. I love Gremio, of course, kind of your combat butler for the first game, companion of the primary character from the first game. And as a kid, I loved him because I was like, he looks so cool. He's got the flowing blonde ponytail and the cool face scar, and he has a big axe and a cape. And then as I grew up and played the game more myself, I realized that he's really not great in combat until you get him really high level. But I love his character more than anything else. I love that he's such a caring soul, not just for your protagonist, but for other characters as well. You know, I think of Kirkus in the Elven Forest, and that scene always surprises people when they see it for the first time, because for so much of the game, Gremio was like, oh, you know, master, young master, like, and then he has this touching moment with another character. And it's like, oh, there's some depth here. It's not just us that he cares about. It's other people too. And I've always really enjoyed that. Of course, there are certain things that happen that make Gremio a little bit more of a tragic character, but, you know, you can always figure out ways around that, and we might talk about that later. But I just enjoy him. It's nice to have a character that cares about you, but also cares about others, and is just kind of fun for a kid at the very least. Very cool design. So I always enjoyed playing with him.
Absolutely. And to round it out, I'm partial to your third choice. He's one of my favorite characters of all time in any video game. Can you tell me a bit about your third and final?
Gotta be Victor. He's in the first game. He's in the second game. He's the Great Bear himself. I love Victor because not only does he hit hard, but he obviously has a big role to play in both games, right? He's introduced as this ne'er-do-well scoundrel, sort of like Han Solo-like character, playing a little bit of a trick on the innkeeper to get out of paying his tab by pretending to help you out and then skedaddling off to who knows where. But then he also is kind of that scoundrel with a heart of gold archetype, right? He actually comes to really appreciate the party. He really cares about the goals of the Liberation Army. And then later on, he goes on to fight with Flick to continue to fight for the people, to put his life on the line, to put himself out there and help the people in need, while also drawing what I think was personally a very nice flag. Just got to put it out there, right? So it's
a
cool
lion or a bear, or
it's definitely not a bear.
We're not sure exactly what he drew, but the fact that he hand stitched it himself, I mean, there's some respect there.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't wield a sword and do stitching at the same time. All right, so respect right there.
Yeah, 100%. And he also is the wielder of no longer the Star Dragon sword. I believe it's called the Celestial Sword now.
Yes.
So-
That's a very fun part of his character. You don't expect him to become sort of like the primary character in the whole storyline with Necklord, and then he does. And it's like, ooh, there's more depth to this guy than I thought. That's cool. So very fun twist on his character that most first-time players don't see coming.
Absolutely. And I cannot disagree more. He was my name in Final Fantasy 11, the MMO. I named him Victor after this great bear. He continues to be one of my favorite characters, but great choices all around. And we kind of end this little segment finally with the gaming shelf. Taylor, you have the stage for your 3 favorite characters, starting with...
Yeah, so we got a repeat here, but we've got Nanami. She's a repeat for a reason. I just like the cute, spunky girl characters in JRPGs, and she like represents that perfectly, especially as your sister. You have a unite attack with her. And for me, because she's so quick, I always used her as a healer because you could heal before like enemies could attack. So like if you're in an emergency, you're like, okay, I'll just use her as a healer because she'll go before anybody else. And then I just like her whole story arc. Again, yeah, kind of like what David mentioned. Don't want to spoil anything, but anybody that's played the game kind of knows what can happen to her, or what happens as the story goes on. And yeah, just cool design overall. I loved, there's the scene where you're waiting with her outside of the castle. That's like an iconic scene at the beginning of the game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, classic.
So yeah, just really love Nanami. This is the cute, spunky girl character is going to be kind of a running theme here with the next one.
That is true, because it leads in to your next favorite, which is
Millie. And I get the feeling that she's not popular. I don't really know what people think of her, but she's kind of like a duncy airhead. Like you meet her early on and she's just kind of walking around, and she's looking for, you think it's like her dog or her cat. She's like looking for her pet. And you go and help her, and it turns out to be like this crazy monster.
Bonaparte? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bonaparte.
Yeah. And I just thought that was such a funny little twist, because I'm like, oh, it's this cute little girl, and she probably lost her cat or tiny little puppy, and then nope, it's this like hideous monster that you have to fight off before you can recruit her. And then she's one of the few characters in the game that has a 3 person unite attack, and it's called Pretty Girl Attack, which I think is just so funny, where you do with 3 other characters. So like she's almost strikes me as like a magical girl kind of in a way. But I just loved her. She was just so like silly and quirky and weird and pretty useful in the party. Like I said, one of the few that does a 3 character unite attack in the game.
And also, one thing about Millie that shocked me so much was when the difference between Suikoden 1 and Suikoden 2 was they introduced a lot of new weapons for characters. There's a lot of spears and swords and axes in the first game, but Millie rocks up with a boomerang. And you get this idea that, oh, wow, they're really going to go forward with introducing a lot more creativity with their unit design of who can join you in battle. And Millie with Bonaparte and the boomerang right there at the beginning sets that stage really high with Bolgan and Rena and Ailey as well. So I think Millie is, when I've been seeing a lot of fans for her when I've seen recent playthroughs of watching channels or on my own, I think you're not alone out there, so don't worry. But your third character is...
Yes, so another repeat, but I was calling him Joey. I didn't even know people could pronounce it as Joey because it's spelled so oddly. But he's just such an interesting character. Again, it's hard to talk about him without spoiling stuff, but obviously, he has a really strong unite attack with the protagonist. So he's like super powerful. He's like a very conflicted character. He reminds me of, if I can reference Final Fantasy Tactics, he kind of reminds me of Delita from that game
for sure.
in a way.
For sure.
In fact, his arc is almost identical, which is interesting. And Delita is just a fascinating character. So I like his arc, and again, there's a depending on which ending you want to get, his fate can be very, very different. So he's just a really interesting character. But he can also, he has like a heart for the team, because there's a part where like you're waiting for him, he's like trying to fend off some troops, and then you're sitting there waiting for him, and it's like, oh, does he come back? So he kind of I don't know. He has like a good heart, I think. It's just a little
100%, yeah.
complicated.
And I think these games also, in my humble opinion, I suppose, I think these were some of the best and well-written games of their generation, along with Final Fantasy Tactics. These were fully fleshed out. These were political intrigue. There was betrayal. There was romance. There was all of these things which had been in games, but I felt never detailed or narrated to such a great extent as in Ginso Suikoden 1 and 2. And I feel that with your guys' representation here of all these awesome characters that you might be inclined to agree. But thank you for sharing with me your guys' favorite characters. I'm very anxious to hear about what the viewers' favorite characters would be after they run and don't walk, run and get your copy today, because it's a great, great title. If you guys would give me a minute, I have to remove all of the character faces now from your... I have to undo what I set up there.
Take your time.
Thank you. I'm
Victor
really
Reps
anxious
in
to
the
see what some of the other viewers would have to pick as their favorite as well. But okay, let me get this done. So I do have 2 more questions. It's going to go a little over time. Is that okay with all of you guys? If you have to go, I totally understand.
Should be.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll try. If anytime you got to bounce, that's totally understandable. There's
Okay.
two remaining questions. And the next one is not a very long question, but we're going into question number 4, which is expert tips that you could pass on to new players as they try to figure out this magic system with the runes or unite attacks, or tips on how to keep your party strong, or battle tips, or anything of that nature. And we're going to start right there with David. Can you tell me, what are your expert battle tips that you can bring to Ginso Suikoden 1 and 2?
Sure. So I think that one of the coolest things that you can do here is combination magic. Like, if you have 2 characters who are both casting magic and they're casting it like one after another, and the runes kind of synergize together, then the magic will combine and it will deal like devastating, massive amounts of damage. Mostly with the elemental runes, the fire, the water, the earth, the wind. So that's a whole lot of fun to do, because a lot of people don't really know about that. They just think, okay, I can just cast only, these 4 listed spells or whatever, but you can actually cast combination magic if you know what the correct rune combinations are. Not only that, certain characters have different rune affinities. So you might just think that it's a good idea, like, oh, I could just throw whatever rune I want to on whoever. It really doesn't matter. Who cares? But no. Like Luke, for example, has a massive affinity with the wind rune, or any sort of wind magic. He can deal a ton more damage with it than any other character. Ellie, for example, has a good affinity with the fire rune. She can do a lot more damage with that. So looking up rune synergy and rune affinities is a really good idea. Another thing about the magic system is it doesn't use MP. It uses a magic point system, and hate to bring it up, but it's kind of like Final Fantasy 1 for the NES, where each level of magic has its own magical points. So it might be a good idea to combine your runes in such a way that, like, let's say that, the level 1 spell of a certain rune kind of sucks, you never want to use it. But the level 1 spell of a different rune is really good, and you really want to use that. So you kind of synergize your runes and stack them up so that you can use the correct spells and not kind of like waste magical points. Because I know if you've ever played like Final Fantasy 1, like the white magic every other level, the even levels, they kind of sucked. So it's kind of the same thing here. You want to kind of stack up your runes in such a way that, you're using up your magic points properly. There's also a short, medium, and long range kind of attack where you can't just put whoever you want to in your party. You really need to make sure that that you have it set up properly so that some characters, or that every character, will be able to attack whenever you're auto battling. Some of them you still won't want them to use that auto battle, like Luke, for example. He's a short range character, but he's a mage, so you want him in the back row. But you definitely do want to make sure that everybody can attack properly. Another thing is, don't disregard unite attacks, because number 1, they're free to use, they don't cost any kind of magic points, nothing else like that, and they never miss. They're wonderful. They never, ever, ever miss. This game is great because you don't need to grind. You don't need to grind for experience because of the way the leveling system works. You don't even need to grind for gold because there's trading posts. You can go out and you can buy different herbs and spices and rugs or whatever at these different towns, and then go to a different town and then trade them in, and you can get money from that. And then my last thing that I want to say is whenever the game gives you an option to spare me my life, sparing someone's life, always spare their life. No matter how much you want to chop their head off and kill them because they're horrible people, spare them. Trust me.
That is
don't
true.
take time battles either.
That's a good tip.
Just like Unite attacks, they never miss. Neither does David. He gave some, not just one, but about half a dozen different expert tips. And I hope that you had your pen and paper out because those will save you a lot of time. Johnny, can you give me some of your expert advice that you think would help new players? As a new player yourself, what did you learn the hard way?
Sure thing. Well, yeah, definitely be a hero. Spare people. Not going to steal David's thunder, but on the topic of Unite attacks, if we're talking Suikoden 1, there is one attack that is pretty good and I'm a fan of. I almost used it as a crutch because, it was my first playthrough, and I never really saw a reason to stop using it, but in your playthrough, you're going to encounter a guy named Kai. Fans already know what I'm talking about, but his Unite attack with a hero, it stays as good from the first use. So
the master pupil attack.
Yes.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to keep using that one. But he's a great character. Be on the lookout for him. Definitely recruit him. And you're going to have a good time. That's
pretty great that you added Kai to the party and you stumbled upon this Unite attack and you go, oh, well, I think I'll continue to use this.
Before that, I did find the one where Kai, maybe he's balled on purpose, but there is an attack where they shine their light at the opponent. Let's just
I forgot about that. They do. They use the shiny bald attack too. I will be practicing that myself in the coming years as I continue to age. So yes, I did remember that. So there you go. The Kai and Hero unit, the one that you're referencing specifically, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone get that one down. That's for Suikoden 1. And Gaming Shelf, Taylor, can you help us with some more expert tips?
Yeah, this may sound basic, but I don't know if a lot of people know this feature exists. Play 1 before 2 because you can transfer your file from 1 to 2 and you get a lot of benefits. So if for whatever reason you're thinking, oh, I heard Suikoden 2's better, I'll start with that one. Do 1 first, especially if you're buying the HD collection. And a lot of stuff carries over. And as we've kind of mentioned, there's a lot of characters that carry over from both games. So it's totally worth playing the first one first so you can get, some extra little goodies when you play the second one. And then speaking of the second one, there's a good rune, the double beat rune that you can get pretty early in the game, but it's a super rare drop from like those rabbit enemies. So just keep farming them until you get it because it's pretty useful. And you can get it early, which is hard to do in the early game. So those would be my tips.
That's right. That's on the North Sparrow / North Swallow Pass right before around the time you fight the Mist Dragon when the circus team is with your party. You can farm up 5 or 6 of those double beat runes from the killer rabbits, and that will go a long way with your party and your formation of your physical fighters. And last but certainly not least, Titanium Legman, can you close us out with some expert tips for the viewers?
I can. I'm going to scratch Get Kai as early as possible off of my list of tips because that is absolutely one of the key ones. Absolutely. No doubt. So I have 3 that we're going to bust through really quick here. First of all, one that people always forget is that and I'm realizing all of my tips focus on the first game. So whoops. If you're playing the first game, cool. Stumble or unbalance or however you want to think of it. Something that happens to you when you use certain runes like the clone rune or certain Unite attacks. You can still defend and use items when you are in that state. So it's not as debilitating as you might think. 'Cause you can have characters like Victor using the clone rune kind of be like an off healer on his turns when he is stumbled from using his big attack. So you have opportunities there to get some free healing in and kind of get 3 turns out of 2 turns if you follow my math there. So very powerful strat to use, especially against bosses. The next one follows off of that. S-range characters don't necessarily need to be in the front row to attack if they have a rune that they're going to be using to attack. So again, Victor, Pan, Valeria all have powerful runes that they can use from the back line and still let other short-range characters fight from the front line. Very handy little tip. I always forget about it. My chat always reminds me of it. I don't know why it slips my mind all the time, so I throw it in here for me as much as you. Finally, if healing is ever a concern for you, especially in the early game, speaking of farming runes, you can farm water rune pieces from Mount Tiger Wolf very early in the game. And then when you can equip them on your weapons, not only will they give you a water element effect on your weapon, but they will give you some healing back on the character who attacks when they attack. It can save you a lot of money on medicine, and it can just keep your characters up through attacks that they might not otherwise survive. So kind of some early game party optimization tips, but against big bosses like the dragon in the keep, very important, as I found, especially if you're playing on hard in the remaster.
I mean, there's your strategy guide right there, everybody. If you weren't paying attention or if you missed somebody's advice, make sure you save this segment of the video so that you can go back and make sure that Suikoden 1 and 2, you can focus on all the good stuff like the story, the music, the art, and those battles are going to be no problem for you. Thank you guys all for those battle tips. We're into our last question. This is it. We're wrapping up here. And we're going to go with a little bit of spoilers. Now, I do have 8 game keys to give away at the end of this question after our guests have said goodbye. If you guys want a copy of that, but you don't want to have lore implications, set your watch for about 10 minutes or about 8 to 10 minutes. And we will be back with those game keys to give away. But I do want to talk a little bit about the overarching story of Suikoden, what these creators are looking forward to coming up in the future, or what they wish they had, or some lore stuff that they want to share with you, the audience. So give me 1 second to give a small little countdown that we are going to be talking about lore stuff in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll see you back here at 11:15 for your game key giveaways. Okay, John, as the newest player here, as a guy who's barely got to experience the breadth of the entire franchise, maybe I could ask you what lore aspects are the most interesting to you so far, or what you want to learn more about, perhaps?
Can I talk about things that aren't technically out, such as Suikoden Star Leap?
You sure can. You can talk about, this is an open discussion about Suikoden Star Leap, awesome. Suikoden 6 spoilers, if it ever comes out. Anything you want.
So rumor has it, Odessa might have a role in Star Leap, and that was a character that, if you're not gone by now, sorry, tragically is cut way too short, and you feel the aftermath of that. You meet her, like brother, and if we can just, she's not coming back to life per se, but seeing that character again, I just know for like hardcore Suikoden fans who've been playing their whole life, perhaps, like that is just gonna hit so hard, and I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to see her again. And yeah, I mean, I've checked out 1 and 2, and then the remaster came out, so I checked them out again. But David's just been talking about Suikoden 3, 4, 5. What's this about a duck? Is there like a duck
Sergeant
character?
Joe, of course.
There is a duck character in Suikoden 3, yes. One of the first ones that comes around, yes.
I see, we got the elves, the dwarves, the kobolds. That's some Western, style of mythological figures. Well, I'm a sucker for
There's
mythology.
even a griffin, and his name is Fubar. I mean, can you think of a better?
It's true. That's Sergeant Joe's buddy, I think, too, isn't it? Isn't that what?
Yeah.
So you get a 2-for-1 special. So Star Leap is the kind of announced mobile game that hopefully is coming to the West. And Odessa, as Johnny was talking about, she was the leader of the Liberation Army before her untimely end. So we're hoping we can see more of her backstory. Certainly, that would be amazing. And then I can't wait for you to try the other games.
Entire backstory.
I got to see them ducks. I don't know what's going on with that.
So that is certainly something that I'm also interested in. And Gaming Shelf, Taylor, what are some of the lore aspects of the Suikoden universe that you want to touch upon today?
Oh gosh, I mean, I don't know about the deep lore. I guess I just like the whole idea of it being like 1 and 2 are kind of about leading rebellions. So I'm curious to see more about like what Starleap is going to be story wise. And we were talking about this a little bit before the stream, but a potential 6, like, is it going to carry that same like history of it being like leading a rebellion, or is it about maybe more communing with like the gods of the world? Because they've touched on that stuff, but they haven't really like dove in like head first or anything like that. So I think those main things would be interesting. And then I guess just do any characters carry over, because this series is known for characters coming to different games. So they're gonna pull out like deep cut characters. Are they just gonna pull guys from 1 and 2? So those are what I would be super interested to see as the game goes on, or as the series goes on, with a potential 6, or even with Starleap, because they said they're gonna, like, you can maybe recruit some side characters. So I'm like, ooh, is that going to be like you're pulling for Suikoden 2 characters and stuff like that? So yeah, I'm just interested to see like how they continue the series going forward.
Absolutely. I could actually spend about 17 hours talking about this particular question, because we've been thinking about it for almost 20 years now, really, if you think since the last major mainline release. Titanium, can you please share with me, some of the lore aspects that you're also interested in, please?
Absolutely. The biggest thing that caught my little childhood edgelord heart was when you realize that the Soul Eater rune in S1 feeds on the souls of your loved ones to increase its power. And at the time, in terms of JRPG type experiences I had, that was mind blowing. That was so wildly different and new. And so I've always been curious, as a huge lore nerd, what depths can we go to with what powers the other true runes? How do they function? How much of an impact can they have on the world? And being able to put that power in the hands of mortals can lead to so many different interesting story beats. So I really just want to explore all the rest of the runes. I want to see more about the runes we already know, and see how that shapes the overall narrative, and how those characters that we love kind of fit into that as a result. The more meta narrative sense is what I'm really, really interested in. So fairly simple answer, I guess, but also the elements of the world is not a very simple thing to write. So.
No, I think that you've laid it out quite succinctly. It's the 27 true runes, of which we don't even know all of which exist. So it's one of these things that has always been very appealing to know who owns these runes and to what lengths do their powers extend, and how does this culminate in all of these different stories that have been teased and led up to it, the Sindar and the gate runes and all this cool stuff. So no, I think you're right. The runes are a big part of this story. And to close out our lore discussion, who else other than David? Can you please share with us some of the aspects of this story and this franchise that you're most looking forward to?
About Harmonia. I don't know about y'all, but we have heard about Harmonia since day one. And it's been, all you do is hear about it. You hear about it, but you never see it. I want to see it. I want Suikoden 6 to take place in Harmonia. All we really know about it is that Luca's from there, Leknot's from there. We don't know too much about it, but we know that it's like a militaristic company. It's also kind of based on like the Vatican City and everything, so it's like highly religious and stuff, and it's really cool. I would love to know about that, to piggyback on what Taylor was saying with the gods and everything. Maybe we'll hear about something with that in Harmonia. I don't know. I also am super looking forward to Starleap, because it's going to focus on the Sindar. And the Sindar have ancient ruins all scattered around the entire lands of Suikoden. In every single game, you visit ancient Sindar ruins. You don't really know anything about them. They're just kind of there. There's ruins just scattered about, because they were a tribal, nomadic land, and they were everywhere. And we're going to learn all about them in Starleap, because, it takes place with the Sindar tribe. So I cannot wait to hear about that. And also, because it does have the rune of change, and it also talked about like kind of going from back and forth, kind of going like the present and the past, I'm wondering if it will maybe kind of warp on into Harmonia, and we'll get to see some pieces of that, some sort of like little vignettes about it, I cannot wait to see what they have in store for us for that, because it's just, there's so much that they can do with this world. And like I was saying before, alluding to, without naming names, but there's some other games out there that kind of piggyback off one another, and they have all these characters taking place in this same world and everything. But that certain game that I'm referring to is very anime. This one isn't. This is adult. This is political. This is life or death. This is family. This is real world problems dealt with by adults, not little anime 12-year-olds, you know? So this is really cool, and I cannot wait to see this adult story with all these different countries and the wars and how it all intertwines with one another. The politics, the international relations, it's so cool, and I would love to see just how it's all going to get tied together. Number one with Starleap, how it's going to tie together, and number two with a possible Suikoden 6, hopefully taking place in Harmonia.
Hopefully. Well, I think that you guys have pretty much laid out a lot of the speculation out there of what we can look forward to. Certainly the next major title is Starleap, but if you haven't picked up Suikoden 1 and 2, this is a great place to start your Suikoden adventure. If you're interested in more Suikoden content, I highly recommend you check out the subreddit. It has a lot of really nice people in the community who are very helpful and very excited. And of course, there's a legendary website called Suikosource where you can find answers to questions from as far back as 2008 when the internet started, or who knows how long it's been there longer than the Sindar ruins. But more importantly, you can follow these four gentlemen on their channels, because not just Suikoden, but any RPG, and I even saw a couple of Super Mario World playthroughs from back in the day, from very many years ago, but tons of games, tons of news, tons of analysis. These guys are legitimately the best in the business. I have linked their channels by typing !guest. I want to say thank you to David Inc., to Johnny Awesome, to Taylor the Gaming Shelf, and to Titanium Legman. Thank you guys for taking the time to join this channel and give us all of your expertise, knowledge, and vibes. And you guys are world-class entertainers and orators. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you as well.
You've been a great host, man. Appreciate it.
Well,
Absolute
hopefully
pleasure.
we can run this back with more Suikoden stories on another War Council someday down the line. I would certainly look forward to it. But thank you all. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give them all one big round of applause, because they absolutely crushed today. So let's go. Thank you all very much. I will be keeping the guest exclamation up for the rest of the week as we continue to support Suikoden. So if you guys missed this, you can still check out their channels later. Just before I go, is there anything that you guys have coming out that you want to tell the audience about, like some videos, something that you're working on, just a plug for your own channel? I'll start with Titanium Legman and work my way clockwise. Do you got anything that you want to share?
Yeah, I'm actually working on a big tips video for Dark Deity 2, big strategy RPG from the indie scene that just dropped. It's getting a lot of traction. Huge fan of the devs. They're only their second game ever, and you would never know it. Fully voiced cast, all sorts of good stuff. So I've got that in the works. Hopefully should be out in the next couple of days, and I'm hoping it helps out people who are getting into it, because you should. It is phenomenal.
Thank you very much. And David, what do you got down the line?
Some collaborations that I'm doing with another YouTuber called FemTrooper, and we are going through talking about games that we want sequels for. We're ranking the Dragon Quest series. I'm going to be putting together some hints and tips for Lunar collection that's coming out. I'm always doing top 10s. I'm doing top 10 like best paced games, the pacing. I'm also doing top 10 worst American Kusage, which is like legendary crummy game or whatever. It's like the worst games that were ever made that came out. So yeah, lots of top 10s, reviews, news, just that sort of stuff over on my channel.
Excellent. Make sure you guys check that out. And Johnny Awesome, what's next for you?
Well, I'm retired. No, I haven't uploaded in a while. But I'm working on a very long, very in-depth, retrospective documentary on a game. Came out around the same time as Suikoden, but not ready to show it off yet. But the set's
Understood.
back there. So we're in the works right now for that.
Well, there's certainly a lot of backlog that they could go through on your channel to enjoy a bunch of great content. So while we're waiting for Johnny Awesome's new video, make sure you check out his other stuff. And the Gaming Shelf, Taylor, what can we look forward to?
Yeah, I think next thing on the docket I'll probably put out this weekend is like a video about like JRPGs I like didn't want to end. Like I beat them and I'm like, I just want more. Like they were just so engrossing, or like I immediately started a new game plus on because they were so good. And then another series I have on my channel is like I play the worst JRPGs of a particular console. So I'm kind of like making my way through the PS2 right now. Played most of the games for that video, but that'll probably come out in the next handful of weeks or so.
Excellent. Well, there you go. Lots of great stuff to look forward to. Thankfully, none of them said, I'm working on like worst talk shows I've ever been on twitch.com. So luckily, I'm spared for now. But until next time, gentlemen, I will be seeing you in the comment section of your own videos. Best of luck in your endeavors. And thank you for joining me today. And take care.
Thank you.
See you guys. Okay.
Done.
Take care. It's time now for our big giveaway from these incredible gentlemen. That was insane. They were absolutely pros, 100%. Give me 1 second, guys. I just want to disconnect from. Honestly, you could not ask for a better group of JRPG experts. They provided. I didn't have to fill in anything. 0% necessary from my end. Talented, knowledgeable, succinct, and informative. That was a dream come true, and I want to say thank you to them for carrying that segment of the stream for the past hour and 10 minutes plus. Very, very kind. Very, very kind. And a huge shout to Konami for letting us all have this moment where we could share these stories, these favorite characters, lore speculation, and everything about Gensou Suikoden. I said at the beginning, I am not the most knowledgeable, nor am I the biggest Suikoden fan, but I want it to succeed so badly. I want more people to play it. I want more people to experience it. So we are hoping that this can be an opportunity going forward that we can expose this franchise to as many people as possible. And to do that, we're not done. We have 8 games to give away right now. We have 6 on Steam and 1 on PS5 and 1 on the Nintendo Switch. And if you don't win this one, you can still use the exclamation Suikoden command so that you can pick it up from me or my promo code to let them know that Pete sent you. And let's go ahead and toss those out because it's not going to be marbles this time, bud. In the essence of time and fairness, we're going to do a ye old raffle. So let me take a look over at my system here. Now, please only sign up for this if you have not picked up the game yet or you want it on Steam, because we're going to be doing it on Steam first. Although every time I do this, it takes me at least 75 minutes to figure out where. I think it's not mini games. How have I found it? It's giveaway. All right, so we're going to reset. Yeah, get rid of all the old winners. Attention chat. Now is the time for you to, it's not, wait, did I do this right? Type exclamation PLAY to join in the raffle. Exclamation PLAY. You do not need to be a subscriber. You don't even need to follow the channel. All you have to have is a burning desire to play this game or both games on Steam. So there are 6 copies of this game. And if you are one of the lucky winners, we will be asking you to please contact our friend Mifu. So he's one of the mods here, and he will grant you access to one of the best, in my opinion, the best JRPG of all time. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to change. Why am I looking over here? I'm changing the music. This seems like it's from the cooking game, which I'll give you guys some behind the scenes. My favorite character, of course, we got to pick Richmond. He's my favorite. And then number 2 is Fu Tianqian. He is our host of the Hi-Yo cooking battle. If you've seen my playthroughs, you know that I love Iron Chef, and you know that I love basically role-playing that show. And so Fu Tianqian gets my shout as one of my favorite characters. Okay, so we're locking in as many possible people as we can. I'm still keeping this open. If you're just tuning in or you were AFK from the lore segments, exclamation PLAY to join. You don't need to sub, Don't need to follow. All you have to do is want to play. There's no purchase necessary. Exclamation PLAY to join. And all right, let's get to it. Okay, so here we go. Now remember, Mifu, are you ready? Are you ready to give away, courtesy of Konami? I have nothing to do with this. Okay, Mifu is ready. The first person, well, I'm going to count it down here. So wait, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're closing the giveaway. The first winner is W. Dyro. Of course you have the word W in there. You have won a copy of Genso Suikoden 1 and 2 on Steam. Congratulations. You deserve it. Please talk to... Oh, that's me. It is indeed. So please contact Mifu for your copy of the game. Next is... Wait. We have to have this one repeat. Next, our next winner is... Oh, stop. Okay, wait. No. Is. I almost screwed that up. Wait, no, that was. It's Finzen. Finzen is our winner. That is and Geoslice. We have 2 of the 6. Finzen and Geoslice. They both have won. I told you it's not a Premiere 2 stream unless something goes slightly chaotic or wrong. Instead of saying pick winner, I hit allow entries again. My bad. Geoslice, are you... Okay, I'll take an oopsie. Thanks anyway. Hey, you win, man. You're in. So Geoslice, W. Dyro, Finzen. Next winner is, so we have 3 more Steam keys to give away. And I will allow entries to be added in here. So everyone, get in here! Exclamation, is it join or play? Did they change it? Did they change it? It's play. Okay, good. It's play. It's got to be play. I see Dead Machina, Bluebird 99. Okay, we're getting more people in. It is play. It is play. Exclamation PLAY. Hey, Gingin's in here. He's left his position on the gate. He's just like, hey, I want to win. 3 more keys for the okay, I'm going to close that giveaway. The next winner, number 4 of the Steam version of this game is Sonara, a regular of the channel. Congratulations. I appreciate you pulling through. It's great to see a longtime viewer getting some representation. Thank you. Well done. Next up is, please contact Mifu as well. Number 5, bang! It's the Juggernauty, LOL. A little cross-pollination from X-Men to Suikoden. Congratulations. You're just saying Gamba. Hey, it works. Hey, well done. And the final winner of the Steam version of this giveaway will be D-Strand. Well done. Well done. Congratulations. Well done. Well done. Okay, so we have 2 more copies to give away. And the Steam copies are done. We're moving now into the PlayStation 5 key. Now, this comes with the game and with a DLC code so you can get maybe the pre-order bonus. Hey, thank you so much, Pete. It's all right, GeoSlice. You're a longtime viewer, brother. You deserve it. We all deserve it. It's great because this is Ginso Suikoden. It's a celebration. All right, I'll open it. I'm gonna, okay, here, wait. I'm resetting it. This is for the PS5 version only. Exclamation PLAY. It does not come with the PlayStation. PlayStation sold separately. PlayStation sold separately. I would also, while we're getting some people in here, well, at the end, I'm going to go over some of the stuff, some BTS. Huge shout out to Jock Not Jock for getting us some of those assets made under duress. Give me 1 second. Okay. This is for the PS5 version of the game. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the winner, the one winner, is Johnny One Tap. You have won. Well done, Johnny One Tap. You won 2 codes. The game, 2 games. Johnny One Tap gets 2 games and some DLC. I won. You did. Congratulations. And here's what else we're going to do. We're going to reset now for the Switch version. Okay. Exclamation PLAY to JOIN. This is for a Nintendo Switch copy of the game with a DLC code as well. I hope it is everything you've ever wanted. So it was for me. This release has been extraordinary. So let's go ahead. Let's get it. You gots to get it. 27 years ago, a man's fantasy became a reality in a form never seen before. Suikoden War Council, a giant Suikoden event. All right, get it. Everyone, get in here. Pile on. Exclamation PLAY to join for the Nintendo Switch version. Okay. This is the Switch version in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. The winner of this copy of the game, courtesy of Konami, is Freeze Ray Charles 11. Well done! Okay. There you go. It's an eclectic mix of people who've won. That's it. We're out of copies. Congratulations, my man, with the premiere. Yeehaw, dancing around. Please message me Tail. Those are our 8 giveaways. Before I end this segment, rigged. They're all Pete's close friends and relatives. Actually true, because any Suikoden fan is a friend or a relative of mine. That's just how we are as a Suikoden family. We pick each other up. Of course, I come in right at the end. Well, you have a great VOD to watch. So, check this out, guys. I'm going to go back to our Suikoden. I don't know if I hope, I feel really bad if somebody's still there. Okay, we are empty. So I didn't get to show my favorite, but it was Richmond right there. The detective. And my other favorite guy is Futan Chin, the cooking show announcer. I like his descriptions of all of the different people. He's got an appetite like a bear, but will he like the foods from the Far East? It's Victor. So there you go. Those were my two. I have, of course, Victor's my third, but those two guys are those three are my favorites, Futan Chan and Richmond. I would also like to draw special attention really quick to these awesome created custom art pieces. These were made by Jock Not Jock and I. I provided the text and kind of a rough outline, and then she knocked the door down with how good they look. It's so good. It's so fantastic. I love how we were able to make it kind of a unique, personalized experience for our guests, with having the original characters ask questions. So I think it looks fantastic. It really is awesome. So you have question 1 from Ellie. How have Japanese games or JRPGs influenced you as a content creator? Then you had Rio, what are your fondest memories of Suikoden? Amazing. And then, of course, I had to choose my favorite segment from the entire series. Well, Richmond, favorite 3 Suikoden characters, eh? Well, Richmond's on the case. So I loved that moment on the bridge with my guy. Of course, I think this one's one of my favorites as well. Here's my expert advice. Make sure to follow my orders to the letter. Had to get some Matthew in there. Had to get that because it's such a hype moment when he was like, it's wartime. So that was pretty sick. And of course, we had to get Necklord before we reached the end. Let me tell you the whole story. So I felt like these added a whole lot of flavor to our playthrough. I was thinking about voicing it, but I think in respect to our guests, this was not about me. It was about what their expertise was, and I felt like focusing on that was a little bit more important than doing goofy voices for myself, right? And I think that the only time I tried to add in was to kind of just review some of the things that they had said or add in some sort of transition. So, and one last time, Johnny Awesome, David Inc., The Gaming Shelf, Taylor, and Titanium Legman, fantastic guests. Absolutely extraordinary. They were very, very professional. They answered all of my questions. Everybody behind the scenes at Konami and who got all of these things off the ground. It was a fluid process. The only thing is I've been up for about 48 hours. I just wanted this to work so bad because of how much I love this franchise. But you guys already knew that. You guys already know that this was a big deal to me. So hopefully they saw that, and we can maybe do. I didn't forget to tweet it out. I've just had a very, very busy morning, but we're going to make that into a nice video. Once again, huge thanks to Konami for sponsoring the keys and for letting me have this opportunity. I think this was a lot cooler than just doing a 2-hour playthrough. I think it was really special for me to have a chance to share it. That was great. My Suikoden streamer, you directed the War Council superbly. I even had the right music for it. Get that. Yeah. This is my hype music. This is when the strategy's getting laid down. All right. So here's what's going to happen. I know it seems like a short stream at 2 hours and 11 minutes. I am going to go to bed. Guys, I'm super sleepy. I've been up all night waiting for this. So tomorrow, what we're looking forward to is I'm thinking we do have an Assassin's Creed Shadows sponsorship. That's tomorrow night, but I'm going to try to sneak in a walk and talk during the day or something like that. So we've got a lot more Japanese content. We're going to be walking around. We're going to be talking. We're going to be hanging out. Try to get one of those walk and talks in. And then tomorrow we've got Assassin's Creed. And then the day after, I've got another sponsored stream with a certain tungsten pal that I'll be collaborating with on a game together. But I can't say who, can't say what, not yet anyway. But you know that I always look forward to hanging out with my friends. And brick by brick, we're going to build this house for my child to be. One more thing I wanted to tell you guys is I got to see about 6-month picture of this beautiful baby that's going to be joining the family in just a few months. Beautiful. Absolutely has my forehead. Yeah, it was tough to get a good picture because it's dancing and moving around, but we don't know if it's a boy or a girl yet, but I think it's a girl. I do. It was going like this. I legitimately think it's going to be a girl. So we're going to be, what is it? Like, it's going to be daddy's girl. We're going to take good care of her. It's going to be amazing. But if it's a boy, I can't wait. It's really, really excited. Yuki did shoot down the name Nanami. I tried, guys. So I tried to sneak in a Suikoden name, and she said no. So Nanami out. Nanami out. Okay, I'm done, boys. Huge W stream. I'm gonna send you over to our good friend. I'm gonna send you guys over to Rob CD. And one last time. Oh, thank you, Sonara-san. Thank you. I just realized I had all these bits and bobs turned off tonight. Okay, that was awesome. Huge shout to our guests once again, and a special thanks to all of you guys, to everybody who came in and supported this. You guys know how important it was to me. I'll see you on the next Walk and Talk, or I'll see you on Assassin's Creed. Thank you guys so much. You guys are amazing. Seriously, go check out those creators. This is day what now? Day 24 hype. Okay, so let's go with all right. There you go, boys. All right, everyone get in here. Let's get 1,000 people to go so we can go say hi to Rob. Thank you once again for taking a look at this Suikoden stream. That was fantastic. I do have some stats for you guys. Let me load them up here. Let me load them up. It was bang! 2 hours and 14 minutes of power. We averaged 1,100 viewers with a max viewership of 1,431. We had 8,000 unique viewers, 639 unique chatters, 42 new followers, and a perfect 69 nice new subscriptions. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who gifted a sub, threw in a bit, watched the stream, won a game, supported the content creators. Thank you all very much, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you, mods. Is this playing? Shit.